Okay guys, this next and last video of my Napoleonic Miniatures review will cover front rank infantry, Crusader infantry, Renegade infantry, and some Foundry cavalry, as well as the figures I used to make my ammunition wagons. So we'll start off here with the front rank infantry. Now I've said that Old Glory are by far the best buy, and they are, and they're nice figures. Perry are certainly the most anatomically correct, and you get a whole bunch of different poses, and they're just beautiful for dioramas and things like that, and for making units. But if you can afford it, to me, the figures that offer the best mix of everything, as far as how easy they are to paint up because of the raised details that I've talked about when I talked about front rank figures before. Also, just they're kind of caricatures, so they're new sculpts for the most part, or many of them, but at the same time they bring back kind of the old school. Not a whole lot of variety of poses, but they're big, chunky, they're sturdy, and they're just absolutely beautiful. Not a big fan of their horses. I don't think their horses are sculpted that nice, and most of the horses are just kind of standing around. But as far as the infantry goes, man, tough to beat if your budget allows for these guys. This first regiment here is 2 battalions of Spanish Grenadiers, and just look at them, man, absolutely beautiful. Here would be the front rank command guys. You get a sapper, there's the officer and the drummer. That's the 2nd battalion. What I did on the 1st battalion, I had the front rank privates with I ordered the figures with their bayonets lowered, so they look kind of cool. Then the 2nd rank is march attack. This next regiment is Wurtenberg Infantry. Again, just beautiful. 2 privates and a corporal, march attack. Your command guys, an officer and a drummer. Here's their colonel. Don't know what I do with my colonel for the Spanish Grenadiers. He's not there. I don't know. I don't remember if I even bought one. Maybe I'm going to have to do that. So that previous regiment was Wurtemberg Line Infantry. These guys are Wurtemberg Light Infantry. Here's their colonel. Next we have a regiment of Bavarian Line Infantry. There's an officer and a sapper. More privates. Here's their colonel. And finally, the last of the front rank units. Battalion of Austrian Jaegers. These next guys are Crusader French line infantry. And when I bought these, they had a very limited range of Napoleonics. I think for French they had line infantry and Grenadiers, and that's about it. I don't know if they've expanded it since I bought these guys last year, but these guys aren't bad, but they're a little chunkier than Old Glory. But Old Glory are a lot less expensive, and I don't think for the extra outlay of cash that these guys are necessarily worth it. They are nice, kind of probably halfway between Old Glory and Front Rank, you know, kind of a mix. They very sturdy figures, very nice poses. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them for sure. It's just that the range is limited and they're a little pricey, but you know, I got them just to add variety, like I've mentioned earlier. I wanted to represent as many different manufacturers as possible in my armies. So there those guys are. Here's their colonel. He's not a Crusader. I don't think they make any mounted officers. This is a Foundry French colonel. This next regiment is British Foot. These are from Renegade. Renegade also has a rather limited selection, but again, I wanted to represent, so got these guys. Really nice. Slight bit larger than the other manufacturers, I would say, that I've shown in these videos, but really nice figures. If I was building a large British army, I'd still go with Old Glory, but these guys are still nice to throw into the mix. More firing. And here's some command. Here's their officer. He's actually a front rank British colonel. For our ammunition caissons or ammunition wagons, let's make these 2x3-inch bases out of basswood, magnetic sheet underside, and use the same brand as I do for the guns, Flintloque limbers. And then I just use a variety of different manufacturers of horses and crews and outriders, mainly minifigs. These happen to be Hinchliffe, but you can see I have 5 bags of the minifigs with the wagons here ready to go, and then several more bases cut. We use the Flintloque Ferroc limbers for the foot guns, and the Flintloque Albion limbers, which are a little smaller, for the horse guns, and they just look like that. And finally, last but not least, to round out the collection of unpainted Napoleonics, we have some of my prized possessions here, not only because they're beautiful, but because they are very expensive. Now, Foundry has cut their prices dramatically recently, but when I got these guys, each regiment here ended up costing me close to $75, whereas, you know, the regiments of Old Glory were a third that. They were about, well, less than a third of that. They were like $21 with my Old Glory Army discount. But anyway, had to have a few of them just because they're so awesome and beautiful and classic. I believe these guys are actually Prussian 7 Years' War Hussars. I wanted to represent the old style Hussars in at least one of my units. I believe I have a unit of Old Glory Prussian Hussars as well. I just didn't show them because they were 7 Years' War, but I'll go ahead and show these guys because I wanted to show the older school style Hussars with the Merleton with the flam. So that's what we have here. Next is a regiment of French Hussars in Shako, charging. Look at those guys. Here's the command stand with the two privates on the outside, then the officer and the trumpeter. Next I have a regiment of lancers and helmet, French light lancers. I usually put the trumpeter in the first rank right next to the officer. But I wanted to have three lances sticking out in the front rank instead of just two, so that's why I went for this. Made the lances out of steel wire, 90mm long. It was really nice. And last but not least, regiment of French Imperial Guard Empress Dragoons, and these guys are just awesome. Look at that, look at that. Except for the price, I can't think of anything, any bad or any negative, I should say, would be a better word, probably, comments about these Foundry cavalry. The front rank with the officer and the trumpeter. You can afford them, get them. And as I said, they did dramatically cut their prices, and they went back to their Kevin Dallimore designed website from years ago. So they're worth taking a look at. Alright, that wraps up my series of Napoleonic Miniatures reviews.